Shalom, shalom. This is following Yahshua. Welcome again to the Rock. Hallelujah. Like I said, it's been a good day so far. Productive. Getting stuff done. GSD. But the purpose of this video was, again, I was asked a question, and the question had to go along the lines of, following Yahshua, things are going bad. Many people are talking about it. What are you looking at? What are you seeing? I'm in the city. Basically, a person was in the city. Well, the people have messaged me, are in the city, and they want to come out, but they're not at the point where they can just yet. And I would say this. One of the things that I am looking at, you've heard me mention it before, is the election. That is one of the things, that is one of the, I guess you could call the plateaus I'm looking at, as far as preparedness goes, as far as the things that are happening go. And my eyes are attuned to the election, because I believe no matter who wins, there's going to be problems. I don't see it as, well, one person wins, it's going to be good, and the other person, and it's going to bring peace, and if the other person wins, it's going to be anarchy. I believe it doesn't matter who wins. There's already a setup, with these mail-in ballots, and this thing could be tied up in the court system with lawsuits and challenges on the results. I would say if you were in the city right now and you aren't able to come out right now, one of the things that I would do is make sure, like I said before, you have an ample supply of food and water. Because my belief is that regardless of the results, now I'm not prophesying, I'm just letting you know what I am seeing based on what we're seeing right now. Being prudent and foreseeing evil. I see that these cities can continue to go to the level of a war zone. And you're going to want to, as much as you can, minimize your time on the streets. You're going to want to spend as much time as possible at home. At home. I think that is one of the most valuable things you can do at this time. For instance, we see the anarchy in the streets. We see, people challenging the police, and, groups coming together, whatever that group is, the far left, far right, Antifa, people are now bringing guns. It's just a matter of time before the first shot is fired. Some people believe the first shot was already fired, but it's only a matter of time before there is a gun battle, a real gun battle on the streets, being from two different opposing groups. You don't want to be in the middle of that. You do not want to be in the middle of that sort of situation. So the best thing that you can do is stay home. And when anybody stay home, not stay home because, the zombie plague's out there. I'm talking about stay home because you know what's coming on these streets. Have food, have water, have protection. Minimize, are you able to shelter in place for 2 months, 3 months at a time in your apartment or in your home? A lot of people live, where they, to be honest, a lot of people, they live eating fast food. They live eating where food is produced by somebody else. Taco Bell, Del Taco, instant burritos from Walmart or whatever it may be. Do you have enough food in your house to make it 2-3 months? I'm just speaking from a very conservative number. 2 or 3 months. What if there's anarchy? What if it's dangerous to even go to the grocery store, as it is right now? What if it's, especially in these inner cities? And I'm speaking to those in the inner cities, specifically and especially those in the inner cities. But this could be applied to the people in the suburbs as well, like Kenosha. Do you have food, water for a sustained amount of time? Think about this. What if these, protests, or what if people are protesting the results? What if they result in utility interruptions? What if they result, do you have an ability or a way to keep warm? Let's just say, for instance, it interrupted utility, it interrupted power, it interrupted whatever it may be. What if, and I'm just hypothesizing again, what if it gets so bad that things go down in these cities, and let's say the power goes down for whatever reason, but the utility workers can't get out there because the streets are dangerous? What if they can't get out there to, put power lines up? What if a natural disaster comes through? What if high winds or whatever comes through and knocks down, power lines, but they can't get out there to repair them? Do you have the ability to keep warm? And you should know the climate, know the winter of the area that you live in. If you live in Chicago, if you live in New York City, if you live in Detroit, Michigan, you know you're going to have some cold winters. You know that. So do you have the preparations? For instance, if your heating goes out, do you have the preparations to stay warm? Do you have the preparations of food? Do you have the preparations of water? Do you have the preparations do you know how to shop where you do not have to go in the town every week? That also plays a role in for those that go to work. You got to have a plan. You should have a plan. I put you should have a plan of what you are going to do. Let's say if you can't get to work and you can't bring in the income that you're usually used to. This is why I've always talked about come out of these cities, come off the reservation. You got to consider these things. Medicines, if you are dependent on medicine, if you're dependent on eyeglasses, if you're dependent, do you have medical equipment? Do you have enough in your house stored up for a sustained, let's just say it took place over the whole winter. Do you have enough to sustain yourself? I know, these harsh winters, people are less likely to be out in the streets. People are less likely to be rioting or whatever it may be. But we have fall coming. So we still got plenty of time before, these times hit, and they're getting worse. And I'm not going to put it past those that are going to be angry with the result. I'm not putting it past them to do maximum amount of damage. You got people out there that want to see this whole thing fall. You got people out there that would love to facilitate the fall of society. True, real anarchists that would love to put people back in the Stone Age, which would then cause these cities to erupt in literal, real urban warfare. And for those of you who have ever lived in a place like Chicago or LA or Compton or South Central or, whatever, in New York City now, I just saw a video of two guys in a scooter who just rolled up on a guy who was sitting there and opened fire on him. This is why you want to minimize your time out in the streets. This is why you want to minimize your time. I was watching a video, it was a stoplight camera or bank, it might have been a bank camera, that showed somebody roll up at a stoplight, roll up on somebody else, roll down their window, ask them for directions, and then when the person was looking down, they opened fire on the person from car to car. The passenger of one car opened fire on the driver of another. And the driver didn't die, but the driver said, I don't know who the people even were. I don't even know who they were. And then they drove off. They didn't go in there and take his car or anything. They just shot him and drove off. So you have to take that into consideration. This is now. What happens if people are protesting the results? What if people don't accept the results? No. What if people don't really like what they are seeing? Go back down there. What if the people do not like what they are seeing? They don't like, I don't think that the results are legit. So you have to put in your mind, if this happens, what am I going to do? I still have to go to work. Or I still have to go to the store. Well, then go to the store now. Put back water in your house now. If you can get those 5-gallon bottles, put some you can get those 5-gallon bottles at Walmart, what, $7, $8? Put 10 of them back. Fill them up with water, put them in your apartment. That's 80 gallons of water. Well, excuse me, math is off. 40 gallons of water. That's 40 gallons of water that you have stored, drinking water. Because you just don't know. And you can't pretend and close your eyes and say things are just going to get better magically one day. And for the love of Yah, you can't sit back and say, I'm just going to pray. Somebody told me, these things are going to happen, right? These things are going to happen, just like it was going to flood. Does that mean that Noah just sat back? Just like Yosef knew there was going to be a famine. Does it mean that he sat back? We should learn from our forefathers. And then people go to the writings of Yahshua and say, well, you're not supposed to worry about what's going to take place tomorrow. See, I can clearly tell that people don't have an understanding, because remember, Yahshua spoke from the Torah. So if Yahshua spoke from the Torah and he said that, maybe he's not referring to it the way you think he's referring to it. Because if Yahshua understood the Torah, then obviously he understood Yosef. He understood Noah. He understood those that saw signs that were given to them by Yah and prepared. That has always been for Yah's people, the Hebrews and the Israelites, or the strangers who have cleared on Israel. That has always been our way, to see ahead and make moves based off what we see. That has always been our nature. That was ingrained in us as a people. Now we're a lot more lazy, we're a lot more apathetic, we're a lot more passive, and we think, oh, let's just call on a great welfare system. Somebody's going to come. Something is going to magically happen, and I'm going to be okay. Meanwhile, you can talk to people right now in this faith who are struggling, and it's sad. They are struggling. They are now living in deplorable situations. And you try to do what you can do to help, but you realize, I got to prepare for my family first, as the Bible says in Ecclesiasticus, where it tells you to, and for those of you who have been part of the live stream, you've seen the verse. You know what verse I'm talking about. You have to prepare. You can't put the responsibility of you and your house and your family on other people. How did Noah save his house? He built an ark. How did Yosef save all of Yah's people? He saved Israel. How did he do it? He prepared. He interpreted Noah's dream and prepared. He did not sit back and say, well, I don't got to worry about it because the fact that I got that dream means I'm going to be okay. All I have to do is sit back. No. He knew that he had to take an action. And right now, we see things happening. We've got to take actions. We've got to take action. So if you're in those cities, don't sit back passively. Store what you can. You can put back, hundreds, maybe even thousands of pounds of rice. If you have a spare room, you got a spare closet. If you have space, rather than putting up all these decorations that take up space, hey, you may want to start really looking ahead and say, you know what? A can of chunky Campbell soup might be a good decoration right there, because that's food. That's food. Maybe a couple of onions, maybe, 100 pounds of potatoes might be kind of nice to store right there. If you live in cooler areas, you have the ability. You can use your balcony and what do you call those things? Those igloos where you travel with food. You can use one of those and you can put back food. You can go and buy squash right now, layer it with straw, put some potatoes down, or put some squash down, put some more straw down, and then keep it in a cool area like our balcony. Cool, dark area. You close the igloo and you put a tarp over it, and you've got some fresh, what you call fresh. You can right now in your apartment. Who cares if it's not popular? You're trying to save your house. You're trying to save your family. You're trying to minimize you going out there. Things are happening, especially for you sisters. Things are happening right now in this world. You want to minimize yourself around danger. If you saw a pit of snakes, are you going to walk through the pit of snakes? No. You're going to avoid the pit of snakes. You're going to say, what precautions, what things can I do to avoid going that way? Make moves, brothers and sisters, please. Time is short. Time is short. Anyways, that's all I got. Bless y'all. Shalom.